Hey, Lewis, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Breezy. Thanks for having me. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've talked quite a bit about your story and your background, and really looking forward to sharing all of this. And I think that what you've done has really resonated with a lot of people. And I mean, from serving in the Air Force, thank you for your service
Thank you.
and for choosing that path right out of high school and continuing on, now doing service work with veterans
hmm
within the oil and gas industry
Yes.
and just veterans in general.
Yes. Um, you say that taking that path. I just I didn't always want to join the military growing up. As a kid in West Texas, I wanted to play football for the Dallas
Of
Cowboys,
course.
like every kid,
Yeah.
but didn't have the grades, didn't have the athletic ability. However, all my family served, my grandfather, my uncles, my father, my cousins. And so when I knew that I wasn't going to be the electrical engineer like my sister, it was an easy choice of stay in West Texas or get out and do something. And so I joined the U.S. Air Force, and I would do it again if I had the opportunity.
That's really awesome. So, looking back, no regrets there.
No regrets.
Really
No.
proud of your service. And do you think that choosing that path, and I mean, of course, you're kind of falling in line with your family, but in such an honorable way, like knowing that you didn't want to break that tradition, but that of course, if there were other things available, you could have just walked on with the Dallas Cowboys. But do you think that the discipline and the dedication it took to be in the Air Force shaped your course?
It definitely did, and I would definitely recommend it. I was talking to a kid yesterday who was helping me take down my Christmas lights and asking him what the future was holding for him. And I've been trying to lean toward it. I mean, it's perfect for anyone who, hey, I'm in between, don't really know what I want to do. It's kind of like college at the very beginning. I lived in a dorm with nothing but guys and girls. I was 18 in Alaska and made friends, but the work ethic, the attention to detail, the being on time, the camaraderie, it was awesome. And it was kind of like college, according to my friends. And but yes, I would do it over again. And I would recommend it to kids right now that if you're looking for something, an avenue, and you want to be a part of something, definitely the military is think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. How many years were you in the Air
I
Force?
was in the Air Force for 8 years, active duty for 6 years. I was stationed in Eielson Air Force Base, Alaska, for the first 4 years, and then Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma City, my last two, and then the Texas Air National Guard out of Dallas for 2 years. So 1990 to 1998. I'm telling my age there a little bit, but yeah, I can remember in basic training they give you your assignments, and you have a dream sheet. It tells you where do you want to go. So everybody's putting. I want to go to Hawaii. I want to go to Florida. I want to do wherever. And of course, I'd never been away from home. So I'm putting San Antonio,
Right.
everywhere around, here so I can be close to home. And then you get your orders and it says Eielson Air Force Base, AK. And I'm like, Arkansas? I didn't put in for Arkansas. And then the guy next to me is like, no, that's Alaska. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
and you're like amongst 40 guys. And so I didn't want to cry in front of everybody, but I'm like,
That was
Alaska.
completely opposite from trying to stay close to home.
And I pull it up on the map because I'm looking and I'm like, West Texas, Alaska. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I ended up actually extending my stay there and stayed, I think, 6 to 8 months longer before I actually left. So I really enjoyed it. And it's on my bucket list to actually go back now that I'm older and can enjoy it a little bit more. I'm
Yeah.
definitely looking forward to going back. Yes.
Yeah, so your initial reaction to, kind of being thrown out into the world ended up really shaping a lot of, the way you see the world.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you would have never gone there on your
Oh,
own
no.
if you had that choice.
Yeah, I definitely was never a fisherman growing up. I wasn't a hunter growing up. Luckily, my supervisor was from Maine. He was a bow hunter, a fisherman, and I can remember the very first Friday he said, "Hey, tomorrow morning I'm picking you up at 4:30," and I'm like, "For what? Like what? I thought I got off on the weekends." And he actually took me out fishing, took me out hunting with him. Granted, I was a helper, but I'm truly grateful that he did that because I got to enjoy Alaska, the outdoors, and not just the softball and up all night and golf and stuff like that, but the actual fishing and wildlife and the nature of Alaska, the beauty of it. And so, Yeah, I was truly grateful that I had that opportunity. But I did, lifelong friends that I still communicate with. I named my son after my best friend from the U.S. Air Force, Tyler Wilson. Yeah, my son's name is Jaden Tyler because of that camaraderie and that relationship. So truly grateful for that experience.
So in hindsight, looking back of where it all began, that's a circle that never
Oh
ends.
yeah.
And to have that community for life, and I know that like it was years later before you came to the oil field.
hmm
But when you did come to the oil field, were you naturally gravitating towards you reaching out to veterans and finding that camaraderie, or did that
No,
come later?
no, I was not. It just came later. Permian Warrior Partnership came later because of a coworker of mine that we used to work together, and I knew he was a veteran. He didn't know that I was a veteran, and so when Permian Strategic Partnership and Abel Hanger Foundation helped fund America's Warrior Partnership to create this branch here, he would see me on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, I need a Veterans Outreach Coordinator. I know you're out in the Natural Gas Society, Oilfield Helping Hands, Pipeliners Association. I know you're out in the oil and gas community. I need someone who can touch base with veterans, who can reach out to veterans every day and see if we can help them with any services that they may need." So that's when I started focusing on, okay, I'm out here, oil and gas industry. There are a ton of veterans that I run into on the day to day. And that's where it kind of combined itself together with oil and gas and veterans outreach. Yeah.
And I could see where that would grow because I mean we don't have enough resources for veterans in general. And then you come to a region like the Permian Basin, the oil and gas culture, it's so boom and bust that you're more focused on just trying to keep the job than worrying about your mental state or the mental state of people that work for you. But when you look at how destructive our industry can be on people, on families, on your overall well-being because you're exposed to so many so many temptations that can alter your life course. And so to have a resource like that specifically designed for veterans and getting them the help that they need or getting them a track, because if you just show up in West Texas, like you can get swept away. It can be very cutthroat and very unsteady.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm sure that I could see how that would grow when those resources are so needed by so many people.
Yeah. I know that that was one of the common denominators in my life was, okay, I didn't graduate college, the 4 year university and stuff like that. I went to the U.S. Air Force right out of high school. So when you come out here and you're looking for how can I bond with people, and okay, I'm a veteran. Oh, well, I'm also a veteran. You know what I mean? So I had that common bond already where if I run into another veteran, and it doesn't matter if they're a Marine or an Army veteran, we have that common bond. You know what I mean? And so I always had that. And so now that I have oil and gas experience and there's veterans here, it just makes it easier to communicate with people as well. And so, I'm not sure if you're familiar with our Coffee with Sarge that we do.
Yes.
And it's taken off because you see like your pipeliners get together, your engineers, they get together, whatever else, the landmen get together. They have theirs. So what we were looking for is an avenue where can we network, but with veterans. And so with those veterans that come together for coffee, you do find you have your engineers, you have your Midland ISD employees, you have your mailmen, your police officers, and you do have your landmen as well. So it cuts across the entire industry, and it's pretty cool to see two veterans yesterday morning talking who had never met, but they had that common bond of being Marines, and one of them was in the oil and gas industry, and the other one wasn't. But to sit back and actually watch those guys talk and bond and talk about where they were stationed, who they knew, what they did over a cup of coffee, and now they've got another resource of a friend, and then B, just another outlet that they can share their common experiences, whether if it is struggling with PTSD, but hey, this is my brother in arms. I've never met him, but now I've got a friend, and it was awesome to see. And it's pretty cool to see every second Wednesday of the month we do that. and it's gotten bigger and bigger. And I think now we're actually going to be doing like a lunch and then maybe like a happy hour this year. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that's really exciting because we've talked extensively on this show about networking and
Hmm.
making sure that you're aligning yourself with similar business people, whether they are going to be potential mentor or some kind of working relationship or just knowing people in your network. But to take it to that level where it's for veterans, but you're meeting different people in the industry and within the community. And so it cuts across, and the division that we seem to always have in society, you're really breaking down those walls.
Yeah, there was a veteran that came yesterday for the first time. And in talking to him, I asked, well, what do you do? Who do you work for? And he was actually in between jobs. And so right then and there, he connected with another veteran who was actually looking for someone. And, now he's got himself an interview and hopefully it works out for him. But
Yeah,
that's what it's about, is about
right.
helping a veteran. And there's a lot of veterans that will come to the coffee and not even know the resources that are available and not even know that they may need or that there's help for them, whether if it's, hey, I'm looking to start my own business. How can I do that and be registered as a veteran-owned business? Or how do I go about submitting a claim, period, because I was injured in active duty 18 years ago and I just have been dealing with it forever and never thought that there was an opportunity to do a claim or a claim increase and get my benefits and get my disability increased. And man, just the different opportunities that are there for veterans, whether if it's services, we help with housing, education, employment, you name it, across the board. There's veterans don't know what resources are here to help them, and I'm actually in the business of supposed to know, and there's so many that I still don't know about. So as a veteran, it's part of my job to find out, kind of like in sales and needs analysis, like, hey, what's going on?
Hmm.
Do you need any help with anything? And most veterans will be like, no, I'm good, I'm great, because of that, machismo, the bravo of, hey, I'm not going to ask anybody for help. But once you gain that trust and, hey, I'm not here to sell you anything, I'm here to actually help you, like someone helped me. Um, it works out. It does.
Yeah, and I can see, and I mean, of course, that I'm sure that it's very gratifying to be able to do that, and because you've served and you've seen like the toll it can take on somebody to have been in combat and to continue on with your life and just the daily struggles that we all face, but then having those experiences and feeling so alone. And so I could understand that brotherhood, the camaraderie really brings it all together because you can face a lot of those issues more at ease and from a more grounded place because you have a support system. You have people that understand because they've been there too.
Yes. Yeah, that common bond is without parallel. If I can sit there and talk with somebody and we share that common bond of suffering or feeling that you won't understand, but hey, I do, man, it's so soothing. And yesterday, there was a veteran who actually, because we switch it one month it's in Midland, the next month it's in Odessa, the following it's back in Midland, back in Odessa. So he actually went to Odessa, and he shows up and he is just like, it's first thing in the morning, hasn't had his coffee. He went to the wrong location.
Oh, so he was mad
And
and then
so
had
he
to
was,
deal with traffic
and he's
coming
like,
back.
no, I think that there's something wrong with me because I keep forgetting and I keep looking at, and the picture that I posted was from Corporal Ray's, but it was from the last coffee.
Oh,
So
okay.
automatically he saw the picture and goes, okay, I'm going to Corporal Ray's. He didn't actually read where it actually said,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be at Black Rifle in Midland. So I go, no, it's okay, brother. Like you're visual, so you see the
Yeah.
picture. I said, but tell you what, next month I'm actually texting you so you don't go to the wrong one.
That'll be
But
good.
just I could relate that, like, hey man, I'm stressing, and but to talk to another veteran, man, it was. And then I don't drink coffee. I go to coffee every month. I've never drank a cup of coffee in my life. But once he had his coffee and he sat there and talked to his brothers because he's a regular, And it was cool to watch him like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, and I can understand because you guys do this the second Wednesday of every month, and so you've got to be on it to be able to make sure that you get to go. So
Yeah.
to go to the wrong location, then
Yeah.
you're stressed coming back and dealing with the traffic and the people and
Yeah.
like whatever's going on in your head. But he was coming into that supportive
Oh, yeah.
community, and so it worked out.
Yeah. Just to see the, okay, I'm good. You guys are still here. I'm okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, you're okay. We're still here. You showed up to the wrong location,
made
but
it
you're
work.
here now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm just picturing that drive from over there, over
Same.
here in morning West Texas, Midland, Odessa
I
traffic.
could only imagine.
So yeah, but what we're doing is great. We've only been doing it a little over a year. Permian Warrior Partnership. We're an umbrella of America's Warrior Partnership, and like I said, locally we're grateful because we do have foundations like the Abel Hanger Foundation. You have Permian Strategic Partnership. They fund us locally because they see the impact of veterans in this area in the oil and gas industry. And all we're trying to do is improve the quality of life for veterans and their families. And they've jumped on board and helped us with support. And it goes vice versa. Like I'm actually helping a veteran right now who lives in Brownwood and he wants to get in the oil and gas industry. And so naturally, I'm asking questions like, what do you want to do? And so he's like, I still want to live in Brownwood, but I want to work, close to home. And so I reach out to our partners from Permian Strategic Partnership. And of course, those companies that fall under that umbrella that do offer housing, do offer rotations, and he has no experience, but the attention to detail, the safety, the promptness to being on time, that will transition into the oil and gas industry. Most veterans don't know, hey, how can my Army experience transition into oil and gas? You're drug free already. You show up on time, quality, your attention to detail, your safety, that right there goes a long way in the oil and gas industry. And so like right now, he is working with one of our companies that fall under Permian Strategic Partnership to get hired on. So it works, you know what I mean? And so there's another program here that's called, by the government, it's called the Skillbridge program. So say if I'm active duty, I want to come out of active duty and I want to get into the oil and gas industry. He can type up oil and gas industry and what location I'm looking at. And the companies that have registered will show up on there. I think American Safety is one of them. And so the government will pay him to be here for 6 months before he gets out. And they've got an employee that they're training for 6 months. And at the end of that 6 months, they can either hire him or not. But he's already been here. He's still getting paid by the military, still getting his housing allowance paid for. And he's learning a totally different trade coming from active duty into the private sector. And I mean, like a program like that is called the Skillbridge program. You'll start seeing a lot of companies become members of that or registering their companies into that. So
Yeah, I mean, it seems very natural. Like you would, knowing that your veterans are coming out of service and could be displaced even just mentally from the tax that they've sacrificed, being in that in those conditions, like for our country. And so to take care of them in such intricate detail to make sure that you make a transition into a trade, that you're not just displaced, like you served and now you're just having to figure it out, because that abrupt change, I
yeah,
mean, I can only imagine like the process that you go through to come back into that civilian lifestyle where a lot of what's going on is like can be a trigger, long lines or chaos, or people being so oblivious to what's going on in other parts of the world or what you've gone through, but they're not dialed in the same. And so
yeah.
to do a program like that to where you're supported through the whole process and you can ensure that you're going to have a job, or that you've built skills, or your environment, you know the type of work that you're doing. You're not just trying to figure it out yourself.
Yeah, we can do better, and that's actually what we strive to do at Permian Warrior Partnership is we can do better. It's because, and I say that because active duty coming out, you're institutionalized. You're always having someone pretty much telling you what to do, when to be here, be on time, and then you get out and there's no one telling you to do that. You know what I mean? So what we're trying to do is create, say, for example, a mentor program where, hey, I'm coming out of active duty. I'm going into the private sector. I have a sponsor who actually went through the same thing, so I can talk to him about the challenges he went through and or she, and to get acclimated into from active duty into the private sector. You know, I did meet Medal of Honor recipient Clint Romachet a year and a half ago at our Veterans Symposium, and he spoke about veterans coming from active duty into the private sector. And so he wasn't a Medal of Honor recipient yet. The movie The Outpost is he's in that movie based on his character is based in, you know, I think it's Scott Eastwood plays him in that movie. And so I got to meet him and listen to his story. He wanted out of the military, you know, was tired, didn't know what he wanted to do, but got out, right? Luckily, his brother-in-law was in North Dakota in the oil and gas industry. He's like, come up here, I'll get you a job. And he started working as a hydrovac operator. Within 3 months, that guy, because he had his so many years of military service and had, you know, the word I'm looking for is like the traits that, you know, are instilled in an active duty military member, transitioned to that private sector. He was a superintendent over the entire, you know, fleet within 3 months.
Okay.
Because, you know,
He was trained.
Yeah, he was trained, and then he didn't know how that would qualify. How does my active duty qualify or transition into the oil and gas industry? But showing up on time, being a leader, being able to take, hey, I don't know, but you know, I'm going to learn this job. And then, man, it was an awesome story to hear.
I bet
Yeah.
that would be because you could relate to that because you've been in the military,
Mm-hmm.
and so that he went into it with the mindset of he's just using his survival skills and the discipline that he had gained or had instilled in him, and applied that into oil and gas, and that's over half the battle.
Yeah.
Because we can learn how to do, you know, any job, you know, for the most part, but to have that kind of self-discipline, to be
Mm-hmm.
reliable, to show up, to take it seriously and be safe, that all goes a long way.
Yeah.
And then you can, and if you're observant or you're a go-getter, then you're going to see there's more opportunity than just that hydrovac job, because that's a great job and that's a great place to start. And there can be longevity with it, but you could also be looking at what else is going on around you and realize, you know, hey, maybe I want to do something else, or somebody sees you have potential and they offer you something else. And then that's where it kind of, you know, continues to grow.
Yeah, what we see here in like Roto Versal, where I work now, you find a lot of companies that are pro-veteran, hire heroes because of that. We can train you to be a mechanic, to be a gas compression technician, but that work ethic, that attention to detail, I can't teach you that. I can try, but you've got somebody coming in from active duty, 15 years of showing up every day, being safe, and you'll see companies more and more looking for these veterans coming out of active duty because that's who we want. We
Right.
want the employee that show up every day. We want the employee to be safe. We want them to come home to their families, and we want them to take this seriously and have attention to detail. And yeah, you've got somebody coming out of active duty that's been doing that for years. Yeah, it's a win-win for both of us.
Yeah, and I mean that's something that, you know, you might not think about just generally speaking as far as like who a company's trying to hire, because you always think you want someone with experience.
Right.
But you're looking so specifically at the experience of the position you're trying to fill, not the skills that are the foundation of any position. And so then I could see where, you know, a veteran might be frustrated, you know, coming out of active duty, not being able to find a job, because there are certain aspects of serving where you know you should be taken care of, and you know you should be you know chosen based on those skills, but you know maybe we haven't been there yet in our society, you know, putting that foot forward, or you know companies waking up to see how they can enrich their work environment by hiring people with those skill sets. not
Yeah.
just somebody that's been at another company doing the
Hmm.
same thing for 5 or 10 years.
You see that, or I see that a lot, is that companies would rather have somebody with zero experience so we can train you how we want it done and not come in here with 5 years of experience and think you know how to do it.
Mm.
And you've learned bad, lazy ways of doing things, or they're not going to teach me how to do this. I know how to do it. We'd rather have somebody that we can train how we want it done. And that's why you see, like, a lot of times, growing up when I was in high school, it was like small engine repair, auto body shop. And then, like, now, when I was listening to Derek, I think that they should probably focus on high schools around here now where you have oil and gas technician in high school. So that way you get a kid who is in high school, and not everybody wants to go to college. I didn't. And so, but I've taken this class on how to be a natural gas compressor technician in high school. Right out of high school, I can go work for Roto and earn $28 an hour. And I've already got some training, and now they're going to teach me how they want it done. I mean, you see a lot of companies now wanting to target those kids right out of high school, because I can train you how we want you to be trained and not come from a competitor where you've learned, a
Yeah.
different way. And so that's why you see those veterans too. It's okay if you don't have the experience. We can teach you, but the work ethic and stuff like that, we really can't teach you that.
Yeah, absolutely. And high school kids that want to go to work, that are eager to continue on, like, they learned a skill in high school, and they could seamlessly transition from being a high school student to making really good money and setting a great career path.
Oh
But
yeah.
the social stigma, I think, in the past has always been, not to go to the oil field because it's unreliable, because of the boom and bust culture, because of the drugs, because of different things that may be that you may be exposed to,
Hmm.
that could be counterproductive to being successful. But it seems like there are so many organizations, so many companies now that are not wanting business as usual, that they're wanting to offer positions for veterans. It's like you said, those skills can't be taught by the company. And being able to reach out to kids in the local community that have been around the oil field their entire lives, that they can be supported, and they're not trying to go find another career that is not going to pay enough, or they're going to have to go to college and take out student loans when they can
Hmm.
transition with a trade.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, like, the more focus that we have on trades and companies like yours doing this, it seems like it's going to be a natural progression. It already is. It's just everybody's starting to get on board.
Yeah. I think just me personally, I feel that, like, we're getting back to the basics again, where you do have your skilled laborers, whether if it's an electrician, a welder, a plumber. I mean, I don't know how many people that I've seen out here that have that skilled trade of, I'm a welder and I have my own business, and they do well. They don't have the college degree, and granted, they probably didn't want it,
Hmm.
but you learn that skill. And out here, it's like truck drivers. We all need CDL drivers. We all need welding. You know what I mean? It's kind of like nursing. We need nurses everywhere.
Hmm.
And so I think you're seeing that now. It's where kids are like, yeah, I don't have to go to college to be successful. And I don't have to have the long student debt.
Hmm.
And UTPB, man, they've got a great program now where you graduate debt free. And I think that's a lot now for people, is like, I don't want to go to school because I don't want that big debt.
Right.
And so, like, you hear of doctors, and yeah, I'm a doctor, but how much debt do I have from going to all those years of school?
Hmm.
I mean, you'll see and hear different debates on, should that be, um, should there be an emphasis on, like, helping them with debt relief for, certain career fields. That topic can go on forever. But I do like that I do see kids nowadays going, hey, I want to come out of high school and I wanted to get the kid that I was talking to said, I want to do what you do. And I go, what is that? And he was like, I want to make money. And I'm like, I go, well, there's a lot that you have to do. I don't just wake up and make money. I'm in sales, business development, but if you want to get into the oil and gas industry, I can help you if you want to learn a trade. And he was like, yeah, I want to be, you know, I want to be here. I'm from here. And, you know, like you hear the boom and bust, but oil and gas isn't going anywhere. Not in my
Right.
lifetime. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Not in
no,
my kids' lifetime.
definitely not. And, honestly, a lot of it is just what the narrative is projected to be.
Yeah.
And because as long as I've been in Midland, yes, things change and there are hard times and there's certain parts of the industry that will slow down
Right.
or you can see the change. But if you are skilled, you have a network, you understand it. Like we have all parts of the oil and gas industry here in the Permian Basin. It's not like you're on a mainline pipeline that is short lived. It's 20 miles long and there's nothing else in that region. You're obviously going to have to leave and go chase the next job. Where we are, you have upstream, midstream, downstream. You have the, working in the field. You have sales. You have business development. You can own your own company. There is no limit to what we can do in the Permian Basin. But what we've learned in the past, because a lot of us come out here, we don't even know a fraction of the industry. You just focus so much on the part that you're hired to do. You don't even know how to get out there and communicate with different people. And so the organizations that we have, the business development lunches, the golf tournaments, all of these things, they're entertaining, or they can just be somewhere that that you go, or you can really work to build your community, your network. And then, kind of going back to, tying that in for, high school kids wanting to do trades and making sure there's the focus on the trades. So then you have the Oil and Gas Workers Association that talk extensively about trades. You have the Pipeliners Association and all of these different organizations, but then there's the kids that don't even know that these organizations exist. There's still so much of where we're at as an industry that it hasn't translated to know about these resources for veterans, to know, that these trades that are needed, that like you can actually get jobs with these companies that will work with you and train you, but you have to have that mindset, that work ethic, and that desire to put yourself out there and say, I want to do what you're doing. I have no idea how I'm going to get there, but I'm willing to work hard. So then you can take someone on and kind of show them the ropes.
Yeah, it's funny because that's reminding me of, how I got here. I came out here at 40 years old and I wanted a sales job. I came from the Dallas Mavericks in corporate sponsorships. And before that, I was in Dallas radio sales. And so I was in marketing in the fifth largest media market in the country. So I come out to West Texas and I'm like, I want to be in oil and gas sales. And all my friends that stayed here after high school have the experience. They're superintendents and, they have been here for years. And so I couldn't get a job. I could not get a sales job because, granted, if I don't know what I'm selling, I'm not going to be very good at what I'm selling. And so a buddy of mine said, man, you're just going to have to jump on a rig and learn the hard way like we all did out of high school.
Right.
Because the cool thing about this industry is we were all new at some point.
Absolutely.
Whether if it was 17, 18 years old, 23 years old, Wes is from a different background, Derek is from a different background.
All of
We
us.
were all new at some point. And yeah, you've got the little bit of hazing that goes on, but if you're here and you're here to stay, you will see that, hey, we're going to help you.
Yeah.
And so like the kid that was talking to me, I was like, man, I got here at 40 and I remember the guy that hired me. We were the same age. And he was like, man, I don't know if you can handle it. He goes, promise me you'll stay the whole 2 weeks. And I'm like, yeah, because I was like determined to succeed. And I stayed the first 2 weeks. I could barely walk. I remember I got on a rig at H&P, but then my buddy, I can remember, he was like, you're not roughnecking, you're softnecking, because that's not the roughnecking that I had when I grew up out of high school in 1990 or whatever. You know what I mean?
I could imagine.
And so it was a big difference, but the work was still, you're still working 12-hour days.
Yeah.
And but I remember I moved up to a superintendent within a year because I wanted to succeed. You know what I mean? And so like I told the kid, I'm like, hey, you can do it, but you're going to have to work at it. You just don't walk into an office and then all of a sudden you're making six figures. But granted, you come close if you work on a rig.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
You absolutely can. It's not, but it takes a lot of work to do it. It's a lot. I mean, it is physical labor. But so when you made that transition, and I mean, those were like pretty big jumps,
Yeah.
but it makes sense that you wanted to get into oil and gas sales. You wanted to, come back. You're from here and you knew what you wanted to do, but you also knew that it was going to take a lot of work to
Yes.
do that. But when you got out of the military, was it straight to Dallas marketing?
No, I actually moved back home to Big Spring for a short stint, and I got into radio on accident.
Okay.
My best friend's girlfriend was a sales manager at the radio station in Big Spring. And of course, I'm on GI Bill. I'm going to school full time. And he's like, hey, Angela wants to know if you want a job at the radio station. They need a board operator. And I'm like, okay. So I can remember it was 4 to 8, and I'm just playing music. And it was a Tejano radio station, Tex-Mex radio.
Yeah.
And so I never said anything. And then the hotline rings, and the owner of the radio station calls, and he was like, hey, LT. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, are you ever going to talk on the radio? And I'm like, no, I'm a board op. And he was like, no, board ops are for sports, play-by-play. That's what a board op is. He was like, I hired you to be an on-air personality, so I need you to talk on the radio.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm just like, here's the latest from so-and-so. You know what I mean? I had no idea. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's what I got into out of active duty was radio.
Okay.
And then from Big Spring, I came to Odessa. Odessa, I went to Austin. And then from Austin, I was single, so I could take the opportunities. And same thing, I wanted to do well. And so I was a sponge. And so then from Austin, I got a job in Dallas. And then from Dallas, as an on-air personality, I moved up to the highest I could go in radio. And then I got out and went into sales because, one of my good friends was in sales and I was an on-air personality. And of course, I'm driving the Honda Accord and he's driving the Porsche. And
yeah.
I'm like,
there's more money on the sales side.
like, okay, so I got off the radio. And of course, all the other DJs are like, why are you getting off the radio? You're in all these billboards, you're in all these clubs, you get a free car, free insurance, free restaurant food. And I'm like, yeah, but, I'm not making, 200,000 to 300,000 like Joe is over there. And so I got off the radio and went into sales. And then from there, it was just from there to my own Hispanic ad agency to working for the Dallas Mavericks. And then with the NBA lockout is when I came home, close to home. I'm from Big Spring originally, but Midland is close enough.
Oh, for sure.
So,
I mean, it's all connected, but
yeah. And I still catch Mavericks games once a season, twice maybe a season. And so,
yeah. So was that something that it's kind of like lifelong that you'll always be connected to that? Because that was an era of your life to go from, just kind of to figuring out the on-air personality to being on the billboards in Dallas and then working with the Dallas Mavericks. And I think you said that you worked with Mark Cuban.
Yeah, actually, I used to play basketball with Mark Cuban at the Premier Athletic Club every Saturday before I actually started working there. And, when I got the job there, it was probably the coolest job I ever had. You're there with athletes and it was awesome. You know what I mean? And so I actually took some customers of mine this last season to watch the Mavs when they played the Phoenix Suns. And so I'm talking to some people that are from there and they're like, dude, what are you doing in Midland? And I'm like, I could come back and work here again, but I'm cool. I'm cool where I'm at. I probably make 3 times more than what I was making over there. And Midland is great. You know what I mean? I love being in West Texas. I still get to the big city whenever I need to for a concert, for a comedy show, for a sporting event. But West Texas has everything I need.
Right.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
I agree. I mean, it can get very congested in DFW, and you did all of that. And I mean, you're playing basketball with Mark Cuban on Saturdays.
He's actually really good too.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, how was that? Was there some mentoring going on there? Did you learn a lot from him?
What I did learn was he does read every email. I can remember I was the new sales guy, and you've got to turn in your weekly report. And I closed some deals, and then you've got to turn it in, and you send it off. And then all of a sudden you get a response back from, hey, bud, I appreciate that. That's a good deal. And I'm like, holy crap, Mark Cuban just responded to me. And then you're at the Christmas party and he knows your name and you're like, Mark Cuban knows my name.
That's
you know
awesome.
What I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure that's a huge, charge for sure.
Oh, yeah. I just texted my old boss this week because you know how he sold his majority stake in the Mavericks. And so I read the article that he's giving 35 million in bonuses based on longevity to those employees that, depending on how long you've been there. So my old boss has been there for a long time, going on over 20 years. And so I'm like, man, that is awesome. Congratulations. And so I still have my friends that work there, and it's good to still get back to the big city. But, I was born and raised in West
Yeah,
Texas.
and you're very busy here.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
do.
you do a lot, and so it seemed like it made sense. But you weren't going to waste your time. Like, once you found out, like, hey, you're going to have to start out on the bottom. You're turning wrenches, and you're out there. You're on your hitch. But because you had that work ethic, you had your military background, you knew what you wanted to do. You'd already proved to yourself that you could be successful in anything that you set your mind to. So do you think that helped accelerate your course?
What actually helped me, it took probably 3 different jobs before I actually got the opportunity to do sales because, they see the resume and be like, yeah, he used to do sales, but now,
You can see that change, and somebody could just, like, they're going to take that at face value.
yeah,
Like, what happened here?
yeah. And, I always knew that just given the opportunity, and I have to give, props to American Crane Equipment. Those people over there, Ron Register, Jessica Register, Justin Register. They actually gave me an opportunity, and I was their service coordinator, but I was actually doing sales at the same time. So you're communicating with other companies, so you're actually selling the product,
So
selling the
you're
service.
getting the experience that you
Yeah.
needed and wanted, and you picked up on that because
Yeah.
it's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, and then so that was my first opportunity to actually get into oil and gas, well, it was the crane industry and sales. And what's truly helped me, I have to, I don't have social media at all, but I do have LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has helped me tremendously out here. And so has the networking of, like you said, the Pipeliners Association. Back then it was Oilfield Helping Hands that I got into, Oilfield Connections, and then I'm on the board for the Natural Gas Society of the Permian Basin. So those networking opportunities give you the opportunity to meet people, and that's really helped me a lot as far as, you hear about it's not what you know, it's who you know. Granted, learning the industry, but it's a lot of it is relationships, and you build those relationships on these luncheons, these mixers and stuff like that. And so that's helped me tremendously out here succeed in sales. What is it now? It's called business development
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. To me, it's still sales. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like the bartender is a mixologist now, but
Yeah, I've seen that. I know. It's a
you know,
fancy name.
but yeah,
Still the same job.
it's the new version of how you want to put it. But yeah, the what actually helped me was I knew that I wanted to be in sales. Right, I'm not a mechanic. Even though on the rig I had my crescent wrench that I walked around with, and but it's funny. Like my friends would make fun of me and go like, "What are you doing on a rig?" And I'm like, "Hey, man." I was in a foxhole in Saudi Arabia in active duty, so I'm used to roughing it a little bit.
Yeah.
Granted, I was in the Air Force and not the Marines or the Army, but I was still out there, and I grew up in West Texas, so I was always roofing. I
You
was
can
always
handle it. But
yeah,
you were living a little bit of a glamorous
yeah,
life in Dallas, and
oh
to
yeah,
trade that in for the coveralls and the hard hat and
oh
everything,
yeah,
and you're walking around with your French.
yeah.
Where you could have easily stayed in Dallas and just like maintained what you had.
Yeah, and it is you know, it is a big change. I'm used to it now, but when I first moved out here, yeah, it was, I traded I can remember my closet was full of suits because when I worked for the Mavericks, you had to wear a suit to every home game. And I probably had about 8 suits. And then in my closet, they started getting moved to the front closet. And now you had FRs in the closet, and the suits are,
Like getting further away
yeah,
for special occasion.
yeah, and I was actually telling a friend of mine, showing some pictures of, yeah, this is what I used to do, and they're like, "What are you doing over here?" And I'm like, I love the West Texas vibe, the camaraderie. It's to me, it reminds me of a family. You know what I mean? I have my coworkers, and they're like family to me.
Hmm.
I have a brother at work, and I have a brother in the military, brother at arms, and I do have my brothers that I from my family. But If I could do it again, I would still pick West Texas, working out here, rather than working for the Dallas Mavericks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's great that you were able to have that
Oh
experience,
yeah.
but you are committed to service.
Yes.
And so once you got yourself straightened out in oil and gas and you knew what you wanted to do and that you were going to work in sales and you got a sales job and you started to navigate that path, then other doors open for you to where you could include veterans and work more in helping people that, you also kind of go back to your roots.
Yeah. And I don't know, I've always been in service in some form of fashion. And out here, there's just so many opportunities to help others. The beginning of the year, I was cleaning out my closet. I text 20 people and asked if they needed some, I'm cleaning out my closet. Do you guys have anything that you want? Because I'm going to take it to Thriving United and I'm going to donate my stuff. And I picked up all last Saturday. I have a whole truck. I have a Ford F-150 now, which is, totally not me, but I do have the Ford F-150 now, and I've had one for probably 4 years now, but it was full of clothes because people wanted to donate to helping others. Just like, hey, these are not trashy clothes. These are just clothes that don't fit anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're just not going to wear them.
And so, but yeah, there's the opportunity here, and we're smaller here, that I can be helpful to others and actually see the impact. You know what I mean? Whether if it's helping a veteran get a job, you know what I mean?
You're physically engaged in
Yes.
that process.
Yes. Or if I'm helping a homeless veteran, or if I'm helping a veteran get off of drugs and alcohol, or if I'm helping somebody get into housing or helping somebody get a job, man, the opportunities here, and that's why I said, like, it's together we can do better. Together we can do more for our community. And I'm locked and loaded now here. I'm a home buyer here. This is home. And so I just want to leave this place better than when I got it. You know what I mean? And so if I can volunteer, whether if it's at church or if I can help with, behind the scenes at helping somebody who's struggling with, whether if it's addiction, alcoholism, if I can help in that way, because I do have my story there, or if I can just help somebody, a veteran called us this year and just wanted a Christmas tree. You know what I mean? And we had like 5. I don't know how many people have. Today, I walked into a friend's house and they had 5 Christmas trees.
They'll have them in different rooms.
Yeah. And I was like, growing up, we just had the one.
It's usually just that one by the fireplace.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, so we got him a Christmas tree, and just to watch that man's, come to tears because I could help him with a simple Christmas tree was priceless. And now we exchange numbers and we text, and he's got a new friend, an actual friend, not just somebody that's like, hey, here's your Christmas tree. We'll see you later.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now there's a brother from a totally different era, a veteran, and he's got his struggles, but now he's got another avenue of someone that can help him.
You filled his tank, because I think then the disconnected society that we have and the negativity that's always projected, you can give up on people and not thinking that there's anyone left that would want to help you, if you've been down and out or you feel alone or no one understands you. So for someone to show up like that and truly show up, not just phoning it in, you can feel the difference there, the authenticity of it.
Yeah. What I do love about out here is all these companies that you see, these big companies, they will help. They do give back to the community, and they care about their actual employees that work here. And you hear it all the time. We care about our employees,
Right.
and stuff like that. But here you actually see them give back to the community, whether they're building homes, whether they're at the food banks, whether they're donating coats, whatever it is, they do give back. And it's addictive. You know what I mean? You see somebody else.
Just get involved.
Yes, to get involved. And, hey, man, I'm doing this. Do you want to come? Yeah, I'll go. And the next thing you know, somebody else is doing it. It's like smiling. You know what I mean? You can't help it. But if somebody is smiling in front of you, you're going to smile. I don't care.
Yeah.
And so helping others, to me, it's contagious. And so that's what I strive to do is try to help others, not because it's a chore or it's a task. It's because it makes me feel good, and I really do care about someone that I can really help, and not tell anybody about it. You know, those times that we help people, I think that are important. Yeah, but to help somebody just because I want to, and you don't know about it. You know what I mean? Um, maybe I'm on a soapbox a little bit, but you do see that. Well, people will
Yeah.
help somebody,
Yeah.
but I want to post it all over social media that I helped somebody,
Right.
and I get it. But
Yeah, there's a sweet spot there because sometimes you really want to share that story because it can encourage others to do the
yes,
same thing,
yes,
but there are moments where it's just between you and that person
hmm
because I can imagine in, some of those situations that you've been in talking about, really sensitive issues with veterans, whether it's PTSD, substance abuse, you've mentioned that you've worked with a lot of veterans that have had um, dependencies and that
hmm
you were in recovery and that time has taught you so much and the wisdom that you've now gained you can share with others, but that's not necessarily something that you're going to be posting all over social media or
yeah,
on a soapbox about, but that you can connect and show people that it's okay to struggle. Here again are the resources to help you.
yeah, and I'm still in recovery. So yeah, I've got 9 years of sobriety, and what I do there, I talked with a veteran last night for probably about 3 hours. He was coming out of treatment, and so they'll call me if right before they get out, they've got to go through a certain step and share something with somebody else, and so I'll get called if they're a veteran or just somebody that they feel that I can relate to. And I talked with that guy over 3.5 hours, and you know, and I do that because, like what you said, somebody did it for me. I am one of those veterans who was struggling with PTSD, struggling and using every form of outlet but therapy. I was like, these meds don't work. Well, they don't work if you're, drunk, you know what I mean? Or using other substances. Of course, your meds aren't going to work. And you're
Right.
not actually being honest with your therapist. You know what I mean? Of course, it's not going to work. And so um, finally, I did have someone that I actually trusted and was willing to try a different way of life. And so I do that. If somebody reaches out to me, I will help them. Before I even started working with Permian Warrior Partnership, my coworker called me because there was a veteran who was going through some stuff. And he was like, hey, man, you're a veteran. I'm pretty sure you can relate to this guy. We sat there for 3.5 hours, never knew the guy and never had met him. Now he's on my phone. Now he's a good friend and he's helping other people. You know what I mean? And that's what we do is, somebody helped me, so let me help you. And then you can help somebody else. And that's contagious. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, and
so,
that ripple effect of
yeah,
projecting that energy, especially after you've struggled.
yeah.
But I think you'd mentioned before when we were talking that sometimes talking to someone that's been through
hmm
similar experiences, you feel understood more than just talking to someone that's a licensed therapist
Yeah.
that's never been in the same circumstances because they don't understand you the same way someone that is served.
Yeah. It took a long time for me to fully concede that I was alcoholic, right? Because growing up, the alcoholic that I saw was the homeless guy under the bridge, right? So I wasn't homeless. I had a job, a great job paying. And so no, that's not me. You know what I mean? And I can remember sitting in a room and they asked me, have you ever tried to stop drinking on your own for whatever reason and you couldn't? And I was like, yes, I have. Well, then you may be alcoholic. So keep coming. And I can remember being in a room, you have the circle, right? And there was a guy who did his drug of choice every day and another guy who did his every day. And I was never an everyday drinker. I was more of a binger. You know what I mean? I was always in shape, always training for a Spartan race or something. Um, but when we sat there and actually talked to each other and two of us were veterans, I actually thought just like them. I actually did what they did, and I lost everything that they had lost. So there was that common bond of, okay, I don't know you, but you think like me. You've lost pretty much everything just like me. And okay, so you are my people. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
think like me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we try to do is I'm not going to tell you who you are or what. You have to come to that decision on your own. But there is that common bond of listening to a man for 3.5 hours and go, me too. You know what I mean? Yup, I've done that. It was crazy. I didn't know this guy, and listening to his fifth step yesterday, we had very similar lives, and we had the same resentments at the same people for the same reasons. And I was like, okay, God, I'm here for a reason to hear this guy,
Yeah.
and he's got my number when he gets out today, and hopefully he calls. And so, yeah, that common bond of whether if it's I'm a veteran and I'm struggling and I want help, or I'm new in the oil field and I need help, or I just want to help somebody else. That common bond of you and I connecting, in our books it says it's without parallel. It can't be touched. You know what I mean? It's priceless. You can't touch that. Of when me and you bond on something, there's that wall comes down.
Yeah.
Whether if it's a veteran talking to another veteran, another alcoholic talking to another alcoholic, or somebody that's just new. And I was new once too, so I know what you're going through. You know what I mean? That's priceless.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think something that I've learned in my life is it's not always about learning who you are, it's learning who you're not.
Right?
And that unlearning process is just as valuable as, getting to do the things you want to do, because you will have to untangle some damage that's been done, or to confront things, or realize like maybe I have a problem with this, or maybe this is an issue. But you go along for years of your life, and you're connecting with people that have that same dependency, but nobody's wanting to give it up, and so you can continue to go in the wrong direction. And then once you step out, whether you're forced to or you decide to, and you have to unlearn some of what was normal when that was really destructive, and now you've got to kind of peel back those layers to find people that relate to it. It's easier to talk to because you don't have judgment, you don't have that condemnation that may come from someone else in your life, or someone that's been a part of that world, that they have a problem too, but they don't want to hear about the problem.
Yeah.
They want to keep going. So then you can lose people, but you really find your way.
Yeah, I know that. And I didn't want to hear this at the beginning, but the alcohol and drugs were just but a symptom of my problem. The problem was really me. You know what I mean? And once we get rid of the alcohol and the drugs, it's like, okay, how am I living? You know what I mean? So I was actually the problem. The way in recovery, we talk about, I don't have a drinking problem. I have a thinking problem. The way I think is messed up. And so once you take away all the alcohol, you take away all the drugs, and now I'm stuck with me, it's like, oh crap, now I have to look at myself and how I was living and my character defects, and that's what I need to change. Because if not, I can still be sober, but I can still be that tornado roaring through people's lives. You know what I mean? So I have to change the way that I'm actually living. I truly believe that we reap what we sow. And so on my mirror, and I mean, this is based on recovery, but what am I sowing today? You know what I mean? Because I want good in my life, but I can't get good in my life if I'm not sowing good in my life. You know what I mean? And so, but yeah, that was a huge pill to swallow, is that I don't have a drinking problem. I have a thinking problem. Lewis, LT is the problem. And so 9 years sober, I can honestly say that sometimes it's still first thought wrong, because I've only been trying to change my life, 9 years sober, but probably about a good 5 years of actually trying to change who LT is. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, because to stop drinking, that's just part of the process.
Yeah.
And then once you kind of get that under control, like from a chemical perspective, then you have to go into like the emotional and the mental, and
Yeah.
who are you?
Yeah.
Because you're really learning who you are
Right.
for the first time.
Yes. Yeah. And, I just went blank right there, but what you were talking about, I like to say that there are different levels of recovery. Because at first it's just like, I don't want to drink. I don't want to go to jail. I want my family back. whatever it
Right.
is that
Yeah.
got you there. And then I tried to mirror it to like athletics. There's like high school football, and then you've got like D3 football, you got D1 Alabama football, and then you've got pro football of like New England Patriots. Not this season, but you know what I mean? You have the different levels of sports. You have the different levels of recovery because for the longest time it was like, hey, I'm not drinking and I'm not on drugs, but there can be more in my life. You know what I mean? So you've got to do more to be more.
Yeah.
So like what you're saying, it's like, okay, now who am I? Let's work on that. You know what I mean? Because there's more than just being sober. It's like, okay, let's change those character defects in the way I think, the way I act. And there's a lot of eating crow, you know what I mean? To
Right.
apologize and really apologize and try to change that behavior. That's the different level of recovery where I'm at today. It's like, okay, 9 years, I should be living better. Granted, it's not about just don't drink today, just don't drink today. I'm at a different level. And so, yeah, you know what I mean? It's,
So when you say that you're still in recovery, recovery's lifelong.
yes,
And so you have the potential to continue to grow through all of these levels, and because you have that self-reflective personality where you want to take inventory and you want to do better and you want to do more. And so like yes, like that first initial step of recovery, it's like you're just thankful that you're getting through 24 hours without having a drink. But you can get so much further than that. But you have to keep breaking those walls down within yourself. You have to continue challenging yourself and doing more. It's not just, you quit a bad habit, now you don't have it anymore.
right.
Now, like, can you do better? Can you replace not only not having the bad habit, but can you improve the quality of your health, the quality of your life, and what you're doing and contributing and getting involved? Because once you get through that darkness and that survival mode, then it's your choice how far you want to take it.
Yeah. You know, we say that you never graduate. You don't ever graduate from recovery. It's lifelong. It's kind of like if I were training right now and dieting and then I just stopped. You know what I
Yes.
mean? What's going to
Oh,
happen to my body? What's going to
for
happen? You know
sure.
what I mean? So I've got to constantly do that a little bit. I've got to stay, for me, I've got to stay connected to recovery because if not, my mind will talk myself into thinking I'm normal, just like I can have a few, I can do this, and I'm not. You know what I mean? That's the part of admission is I'm not like normal people. When I drink, I have the allergy. You know what I mean? And so some people can. Some people can, you may be able to drink 3 glasses of wine and go home and you're good. I drink 3 beers and there's a totally different person that comes out and next thing you know, I'm off to the races. I'll end up in New Orleans. You know what I mean? And how the heck did I get here? You know what I mean? So I've got to stay connected. And I like to tell people this. It's like I'm sick and my medicine for life is I've got to have a meeting at least once a week. I've got to work with somebody else. I've got to do some service and I've got to keep that relationship with in recovery the God of my understanding, the higher power of my understanding. Because that's all recovery is. It's trying to get you to a relationship with a higher power and not running on self-will, running on that higher power's will. And so that's my medicine. So when I meet people and they're like, why do you still go? You got 9 years. It's like, I've got to stay connected. That's my home base is recovery. So I've got to stay close to it a little bit
Hmm.
because if I don't, and you see that often is people relapse after 25 years,
Yeah.
15 years. It's because I don't need to go that many times. I don't need to do that. And you're out there on an island and you will talk yourself into, I'll take that one drink. And next thing you know,
And then
within a
you've
week, you've lost it all.
all of that time.
Yeah. So it's better just to go here and there and stay connected. It's like me, I've been working out since I was in the military and people are like, how many times do you work out? I'm like, my goal is at least 3 times a week. And they're like, you only go 3 times a week? And I'm like, that's it. If I can get there 7, that's great. But my goal is 3 times. And so the same thing in my recovery is I have my numbers of meetings that I hit. and how many sponsees I work with, because I have to turn back and help somebody else. And I can't just take this and go, somebody helped me, I'm good to go. You know, it's like, just like in the oil and gas industry. I was new. The kid is asking me, hey, I want to be just like you. Okay, well, let me help you because somebody helped me with my first opportunity, so I will help you. And it's the same thing in recovery. Somebody helped me, so I've got to pass that on. You know what I mean? And so that's what I just strive to do, whether if it's in helping somebody else with, if you're a veteran, if you're just new in the oil and gas industry, or, you know, you need some help out in the street. You know what I mean? If I can
You
help
will be
somebody.
there.
Oh yeah.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
You
You will
know,
be there.
if I can't, there's plenty of friends that I have that
Yeah.
will,
Yeah. And I mean, just being that bridge and being the voice and sharing the testimony, it's very refreshing, to hear, because, so many people can go through struggles and then they just go on with their lives. Or you've been successful and now you choose this, glamorous and, so I guess somewhat self-serving, path if you're comfortable. But, in West Texas, there's always work to do.
Oh yeah.
And there's always people to help. There's always organizations where, like you said, just donating clothes and getting people involved in that, and it makes everybody feel good. It makes you feel like you're making a difference, and that's part of where the negative stereotype of the oil
Oh
field
yeah.
comes
No.
from. It's not even like that at all.
No.
You hear this, very stale version of the way it used to be, or maybe some aspects of it are like that. But I meet more people that are involved in networking and organizations and what can we do to build the trades and raise the money and help the homeless, and just what can we do? Like, I mean, there's no end to those conversations.
Yeah. You know, our mayor said it best, and I've heard her speak a couple of times. She actually spoke at our Veterans Day celebration this past year over at Midland College, and I've heard her share this, that we do noble work. You know
Yes,
what I
I've
mean?
heard her say that too.
We do, and I thought about that, and I was like, you know what, we do, we do, and not to say but yeah, we do noble work for not only West Texas, but for the United States, but for the world. We
Yeah.
do noble work.
We really do. And that's the thing that I found, because when I first came out here, of course, there was the overwhelm and, it is cutthroat and it can be a
Yeah,
lot. You go through those stages. But once I realized we do such good things out here, we're the power source of, the world. Like, we have such a amazing ecosystem, but we're always, stigmatized that it's bad. You don't want to go to the oil field. There's the people out there, you're not
yeah,
educated. And, but within the industry, it's like we're so busy doing the work that nobody's really turning around defending any of that,
yeah.
because that's not true. It couldn't be further from the truth. And really, like, there's a lot of people here that have taken advantage or are destructive, or don't, that they're not concerned about the community or our environment. But there are so many people that are now, that you can't help but get involved, because, like you said, it's contagious. And so the more that we continue to show up and we continue to share and educate, like, if you need to learn what it takes to network in oil and gas, if you want to learn different parts of the trade, there are so many people here
Hmm.
willing
Oh
to
yeah.
take the time to show somebody the way.
I like to think of it as we are a family. You know what I mean? The oil and gas industry, truly, we are a family. Granted, we have our cousin Eddies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The black sheep, you know what I mean?
There's a few.
You know what I mean? But we are a family, and I do see that support, um, with some of my customers, my coworkers, and other companies. I mean, ConocoPhillips gave us a $175,000 check to help with veterans and improving their quality of life. Certarus just gave me $10,000 for a check to help veterans and their quality of life. You know what I mean? Republic Services, Roto, Versal, all these companies seem to, they're our community partners, but they want to help veterans, and that's just the veteran segment. Pioneer as well. They not only help veterans, but all these companies will sit here and give back and help Thriving United. You know what I mean? Like USA Compression, is one of our partners that does actually help us. And you have these companies that do give back to these organizations. So that's why it's easy for me to sit here and go, this is home to me. And these people, whether if we're competitors on this level, we're family in West Texas. You know what I mean? And I don't really consider us all to be competitors. There's so much work for all these companies. One company couldn't do it.
Right.
You know
There's
what I
enough to
mean?
go around.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about here. I can network with somebody who does what I do for a different company, and we're cool with each other because I know they can't do all the work. We know we can't do all the work, and we do help each other because, you know, if you succeed, I succeed. You know what I mean? And you see that out here, and that is just different. But yeah, you do have your, you know, black sheeps, but for the most part, we are one big family in oil and gas industry. And, you know, I'm truly blessed to be here. I don't know how I got here, but I'm truly grateful I'm here. Yeah.
So do you think now with where you are in sales and working in natural gas and the work that you do with the Permian Warrior Partnership and working with veterans and being involved in the community, like this is you now?
You know, I used to want to be an actor. I moved to LA for 10 months and I was doing TV commercials and, you know, some extra work, Walker, Texas Ranger, little stuff like that. And a friend of mine was like, man, you need to come to, you know, to the big city and really try it. And I did, but granted, I wasn't taking it serious. It's part of my story of the drugs and alcohol. I like to tell my friends, I was the True Hollywood story before I was famous. You know what I
You
mean?
didn't even need to be famous. You got it all
Yeah.
done.
And so, but, you know, it's growing up and thinking I knew what I wanted. And it was like to be in talking to the masses. You know what I mean? And like being in radio and talking to the masses. You know, at any 15 minutes, I could be talking to four or 500,000 people in Dallas. And so I still do that today. I can still talk to the masses, but it may be in an AA meeting. It may be at a fundraiser, but I'm still talking to people and I'm still helping others. And I don't have to be on the big screen to do that. I can do that from West Texas. I can do that helping in a podcast.
Right.
I can do that in my my men's group over at St. Stephen's with the Knights of Columbus. You know what I mean? I don't have to be on billboards today, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being at Black Rifle Coffee, talking to a group of veterans. And yeah, what a concept from a guy like me that thinking, I've got to be on a billboard. I've got to be on TV I'm okay talking to 12 people at a coffee. And granted, the scale is smaller, but it means more today.
Well, and the impact, and I mean,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
certainly in the trenches, and
Yeah.
what you're doing with those 12 individuals is giving them the skills to go do it with other individuals.
Yeah.
And so you really got to the core of that higher purpose and that
Oh, yeah.
power and the influence that you can have.
Yeah, I never knew what my purpose was, and I always thought, you know, it's to be famous or it's to do this. You know, my purpose is to help someone else. That's all it is to help. If I can help one person in any way, whether if it's with a job, it's to stay sober, to give somebody a ride, then I'm fulfilling my purpose. To me, being successful in life is attaining a goal. Whatever my goal is, if my goal is to, you know, help others and someone asks, are you successful? Yeah, I'm very successful. You know what I mean? It's not about money. It's not about being on TV. It's not about, you know, the glitz and glam. It's about setting goals for myself. And if I attain those goals, I'm a successful human being. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I would say that you are very successful.
Thank
And
you.
I mean, there are so many people here that I know have been blessed to know you and to be a part of what
Thank
you're
you.
doing. And but it's awesome. I mean, what you do with your company, what you're doing with these organizations and the veterans and the oil and gas community.
Thank you very much.
So I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your story.
No, thanks for having me. I truly appreciate it. And I do have to say this, you have one of the coolest names. You know what I
Oh,
mean? I
thank
was sitting
you.
there, I was like, man, she's got probably one of the top 3 coolest names, you know?
It is very unique.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I do like that. And I do truly appreciate your time and having me on your show.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Louis.